A little bit about the silver, and we had mentioned that earlier. Silver at this point is really expensive. I mean, it's just like
it's cheaper than it was.
It's cheaper than it was, but it's still, as far as like gold and everything, people are investing in silver.
It's a lot more volatile than gold. It goes up and down much more vigorously than gold does. Yes.
Now, when you buy, tell us a little bit about, you mentioned sterling silver, and then there was another one you mentioned.
This is sterling technically, because sterling is 92.5% silver. The other 7.5% normally is just copper. With the argentium, part of the copper is replaced with germanium, and that gives it an oxide coating that you can't see, but keeps the sulfur off. This will tarnish. It takes, I'm guessing, 10 times longer to tarnish than normal sterling silver does.
And how would you clean it? You had a nice cleaning method that we're interested in.
This works with sterling also. Basically, there are chemicals you can use like Tarnex that works very quick, but you have to rinse them really well after you use the Tarnex. But the cheapest, simplest way is get a bowl, line it with aluminum foil, put the pieces in so they touch the aluminum foil, fill it with hot water, and put a little bit of baking soda in. And people say, well, how much baking soda? The baking soda is just there to keep the water from being acidic, which causes other reactions. But basically what happens is the silver sulfide, the sulfur leaves the silver for the aluminum because it prefers it, which is why I say use aluminum foil and not just an aluminum pan, because you're going to put the sulfur on the aluminum. So you don't want that on your pan. It'll probably change how food tastes.
Yeah.
But the hotter the water, the faster it goes. You should actually see little bubbles coming up when you do that.
Oh, wow. So how wonderful.
These aren't polished. They're burnished, because polishing removes metal. So if you're using like a paste silver cleaner, you're actually polishing the surface, and that's okay for something that has a big flat surface. These have microscopic level detail of the veins and the pores. I've taken micro photographs, and you can see the pores on the surface of the silver that replicate the pores on the surface of the petal.
Really?
So,
oh my goodness.
That's why people ask, do you dip the flowers? And what they're thinking about is something called electroforming, where you coat something with a material that transmits electricity, then you can plate it with copper, and then with zinc, and then with silver or gold. But all those layers reduce the detail. So you don't, and you end up with whatever it was in the inside. So anything that's electroformed is technically hollow, so they won't be as strong also. So you wouldn't see the level of detail that you see here.
What a fabulous idea.
The ones on the end here in color, this is a new process I just started. So it's 3 days to get these to the polished state, and then the fourth day I'm doing a type of ceramic coating in different colors using an electroplating technique. So I still get the level of detail, but I get the color, and that color also protects it from tarnishing also.
They're absolutely gorgeous. I mean, they're just, you know, you have to almost see them close up to really appreciate the
detail.
When you're using these colors, what are the colors? Exactly what is that? Kind of paint or an ink? Or
no, it's actually a nano ceramic. So it's microscopic level pieces of ceramic that are apparently charged, so they can be electroplated on, and then you heat it to set it. But it takes
absolutely gorgeous.
That's a complicated process too, because for instance, I counted up. There are 6 different levels of rinsing involved in doing that. So there's a lot of dipping and cleaning, and then dipping and cleaning, and then dipping and cleaning and cleaning and cleaning, and then dipping and cleaning and cleaning. So that's a complicated process too.
Now you have changed.
I tried doing enameling because I wanted to get color on, which is part of adding putting colored stones on. And I thought, well, I'll try enameling. And that would be such an expensive process. But you'd spend all your time on one piece.
Right.
These I can do kind of in batches.
That makes sense.
And you'd have to actually be good at enameling, which would take me forever. So.
And here I'm seeing you've got rubies or garnets. Is that garnet or ruby?
I think that's a garnet.
Garnet.
Yeah.
That's just absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if you can zoom in on that, but the stones are just beautiful in here. Can you see that?
Now, the thing I like about the silver is it reflects the color of whatever you're wearing typically. So, you get the color change just from the clothing that you're wearing.
I'm telling you, the detail in this is just phenomenal. You really have to see these up close. And they're so different. I mean, when you're looking at them, it's not like you're going, like other jewelry, and I'm a jewelry collector, as you can see. You go to a store and you see 25 pair of the same type of earrings.
Right.
These, every single one of them, I don't want to sound like here's another one here.
Yeah, so these are you can see some of the close-ups on those.
I know, look at that. Look at the veins in it.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Well, it's interesting too because I guess people don't really understand genetics, and I certainly don't, but you can have a flower stalk with 60 blossoms on it, and they all obviously have the same genes, right? But those genes are being expressed differently for every single flower on there. When I pull those off and I'm mounting 60 of them into one of these flasks,
Wow.
I can see that every one of those flowers is different. They're different sizes. Some of them, some of them are missing petals. Some of them, the petals are completely different. It's amazing to me. In the same plant, in the same blossom spike, whatever the inflorescence, there's that much variation in the flowers. So
So
yeah,
they really
absolutely no two are alike.
Well, it's just like no two spots are the same
Yeah.
on a cheetah, and no two
And-
stripes are on a zebra, and no two persons
Yeah.
are like, we're all so different.
But
Way
on
we
the
think,
same
the way we
plant,
do
you'd
it.
think the flowers would be the same. They're
We're
not.
all on the same
Absolutely
planet.
not.
You'd
Yes,
think
they're
we'd all look
absolutely
alike,
not.
right?
They are all
We're not.
different.
Now you're using silver chains, and everything is silver then. So when you get a piece of yours, how can we buy it? Where can we call you? Can we text?
I'm mostly
email
doing
you?
orchid shows at the moment because
Okay.
I'd be going to them anyway. So why not sell them there? And it's the same market.
And you have a
but I am-
saying, right? Always blooming, never needs water. You tell people
you
that.
can't kill it. It's portable. It'll be blooming a year. Yeah. What I tell them is these are the only orchids that'll still be blooming a year from now. That you'll buy today that'll still be blooming a year from now.
Oh, that's
Yes.
wonderful. Now, do you ever get people that say, "I want to"?
Well, I will say this: my Orchid Society does say you don't kill an orchid; it commits suicide. But I think that's to make you feel better.
Now, do you get people that say, "I have to have an orchid. Can you do this orchid for me?" Do you ever get requests
I have
like
a few
that?
requests. Typically, it's a much larger orchid than I want to deal with.
Oh, the real big.
Well, like these ones here.
Right.
They're harder to cast. It's harder to make sure that the whole thing casts, and they weigh a ton. I mean, you'd be using 3 ounces of silver or something
Yeah.
or other. It's just probably not worth it for that. Find one like I'm doing. There are orchids I've tried now. There's some examples here. Some of these, they're absolutely gorgeous, but it's very hard to make jewelry out of some of these, especially oncidiums. They make good earrings because they're not actually touching your body anywhere. But something like this, it's got sharp pointed edges that are pointing back, and I'm struggling on what to do to make these wearable art as opposed to unwearable art. And about the only thing I've come up with other than putting a backing on them in like the polymer clay, which I've done with a few of the smaller ones, but something this big, about the only thing I've come up with is to use them for hat bands, for Western wear. Wouldn't that look cool?
Yes. Actually, I wear tam. In the winter I wear tam.
Yeah, but
and
something
all
on
that.
a hat, but even as a pin, this would be a bit hazardous for wear, I think.
Yeah, maybe in the neck would
Yeah, it
kind of hurt. You're right. Oh my goodness, that is. But a blouse.
Yeah.
I could see these lining up my
Yeah.
clothing.
So some of them just
Absolutely
don't work
gorgeous.
out. I mean, some of the tiny ones that I thought would work great turned out just not to be usable as orchids. Oh yes,
This one
that's a good example of something that I need to find out where that's actually going to work as jewelry. A tiara, maybe. I mean, that's because those are enormous. I mean, they weigh probably 2/3 of an ounce. That's a
Wow.
lot for a piece of jewelry.
Can we
So,
run through? Do you have a couple other pictures we can run through?
Yeah.
Let's see if they-
We're still going through the pendants, I think.
Now,
this
these
is
are
the before.
and
This is the
after?
before and
Oh,
after.
wonderful.
I actually matched these up with the actual flower, and then the resulting
Look at that. Is that
cast.
fabulous?
That's from that flower. So I ended up taking a lot of pictures of the flowers before I cast.
That's a great idea. Wow. And you can also see how they move too.
Well, they say in the
little bit of a
on the
difference
website
as
that
you're-
I actually have this as motion GIFs, so they actually morph from one to the other, which is kind of cool.
That's neat, yeah.
But it's interesting too, because you can see how they actually change shape a bit as I poured the investment in. Some of them droop more than others, or shift shape.
Not much though.
Yeah,
you look at it, that's
if
really
you work
incredible.
fast enough, the stuff is still liquid enough that they can spring back. But typically, I lose an orchid or two just getting knocked off. Orchids don't really want to be stuck to wax either, because they actually have their own wax pellicle on them, so it doesn't.
Can we kind of zoom in on these? This is really interesting. The way they're put on this tree, you call it, right?
Yeah, right.
So each little tree has all these flowers on them. So the real flower, this is the silver, but the real these would be the real flower, and they'd be sitting like this before that whole thing would go on there.
So I'm basically pouring heavy waffle batter right over the top of those and hoping they don't fall off.
That's so incredible. That just, and then afterwards you have to clean it, which is the hard part. I mean, you have to take it apart, take it off.
I have to cut them off. I have to use a polishing wheel on the back where the sprue was cut, so that's not a sharp edge.
See, there's a little tree part. That's just incredible. This is so much fun. I have just enjoyed this so thoroughly. You have no idea. And I think everybody that's watching too. It's like, how do you do this?
I did want to talk briefly about the groups that have helped me a lot.
Yes, please.
One, of course, is the local Brevard County Orchid Society. They are great. They meet the second Monday of every month over off of Sarno. The 2 gem clubs in the county are just great. If people want to learn anything about jewelry or stones or metal, they're the places to go. And also the Career Source Brevard has a program called Biz Launch, and that has been a huge help to me. Anybody out there that is an artist or is planning to be an artist or thinking about starting their own business really needs to check out Biz Launch at Career Source Brevard. They have people that come in and give their experience on starting a business in all different kinds of businesses. They have people that tell you how to start a business, what type of business it should be, like should it be a Type C or Type S corporation or a partnership. Just real down-to-earth, practical experience on how to start your own business and run it and learn from the mistakes of others.
And where is that located?
They actually have 3 locations, one in Palm Bay, one in Rockledge, and I think they're in Titusville also. They meet every 2 weeks for 2 hours. In Rockledge, or in Palm Bay, it's Thursday. In Rockledge, it's Wednesdays.
I'm gonna have to
But
check
I
that
cannot
out.
recommend that enough. Anybody that's starting their own business needs to check out Biz Launch.
William, we've enjoyed having you on the show so much. This has just been great. And hopefully we'll see you next time for more focus. Until then, good night.
They are accidents waiting to happen. This year, 1 in 3 older adults will fall in their own home, breaking bones, fracturing hips, shattering lives. Yet many falls can be prevented, meaning they're not really accidents. To make your home safer, visit orthoinfo.org/falls, a public service message from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, where staying on your feet is doctor's orders.